Gracie Jiu-Jitsu rocks. Welcome to the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu Rocks podcast, a podcast dedicated to Gracie Jiu-Jitsu and all things Gracie, including self-defense, competition, anti-bullying, women's self-defense and empowerment, nutrition, and most especially, the people involved in Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. This podcast is for the average Joe. It's for anyone who practices, trains, teaches, or just loves to talk about or hear about Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. We'll explore the lives of Gracie Jiu-Jitsu practitioners, how they got involved in the art, and what effect it's had on their lives. So buckle up and enjoy the ride. Welcome to episode 31 of the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu Rocks podcast. As always, I'm your host, Marty Josie, and thanks for listening. Today, my guest will be Clay Mayfield, and Clay is an exceptional person on many levels. He has a lot of drive, determination, and a clear-headed direction that's pretty rare for someone of his age. So a remarkable person. I know you're going to enjoy that interview, and we'll get to that in just a moment. I want to start out by saying a very big congratulations to Brian T-City Ortega. And Brian recently fought in the UFC, and what an impressive fight he had. He showed remarkable skill, stand up on the ground, offense, defense, a lot of facets to the fight, and just phenomenal display of skill, of jiu-jitsu, of MMA fighting skill. And he pulled off the victory in the third round. What a great fight it was. So Brian T-City Ortega, we're very happy with you and your performance, and look forward to more awesome fights in the future from you. Okay, now for the jiu-jitsu quote. A man of peace, confident in himself, dominates his adversary with moral strength, not with physical power. And this is from the late, great Grandmaster Elio Gracie. If you've been listening to the show, you know I'm a big fan of the Stuart Cooper jiu-jitsu films. Very motivating and inspirational jiu-jitsu films. And I want to play a short audio clip of one of his right now. So let's do that.
It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows the great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who know neither victory nor defeat.
Okay. And that was actually narrated by Kyle Maynard. And if you're not familiar with Kyle, just do a Google search for him. A very motivational person. You should definitely check him out. The quote that Kyle shared was, is from something called The Man in the Arena, and it's actually from a speech that Theodore Roosevelt did way back in 1910, and it was a great speech, The Man in the Arena. So it's been around for a while, but it's just an awesome, awesome quote. You might have also seen it in the Renzo Gracie documentary, Legend. Okay, moving on to today's guest, Clay Mayfield. So let's meet him now. My guest today is Clay Mayfield. So welcome, Clay, and thanks for being with us.
Well, thanks for having me, Marty.
So you, right now, as we speak, are on your way to Royce Gracie seminar, right?
That's correct. Yeah, we are. I'm taking a couple of my students, and we're going to go see Royce up in Springfield, Illinois. So we are on the road right now.
Nice. I'm jealous. So I met you last June, actually, at the Destin camp, and I was randomly interviewing some attendees and asking what they thought about the camp and what they liked the most about it. So that's where our paths crossed initially, and then we became Facebook friends, and I've really enjoyed watching your posts as all the competitions you've done. It's been really cool. And then we connected again face-to-face in February out of the Gracie Academy. So it's been cool getting to know you a little bit this past year, Clay.
Likewise, I'm glad we connected at that immersion camp. I've really enjoyed following the podcast, and it's been nice just to keep in touch with you and your jiu-jitsu journey, and also with the lives of all those great practitioners that you've interviewed in the last, how many has it been, 25, 26 interviews?
30 episodes. This will be 31.
Episodes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been a great journey. I've really enjoyed it. So thanks for being a part of it. And Clay was also a contributor in episode 18. He did the Make a Difference, Make an Impact segment. So appreciate that as well, for sure.
Absolutely.
So start us off, Clay, by sharing with us how you got started in jiu-jitsu and kind of what that journey's been like for you.
Well, it's actually a bit of a roundabout story. When I was born in Dallas, Texas, and when I was 4 years old, my family started traveling. My father had joined medical school, and so we traveled around the world. We lived in St. Martin and the Caribbean, and then in Belize, and England and Germany, and then back and all around the United States. And while we were traveling, my dad always wanted us to start training in martial arts. And so we took some Kung Fu classes in England and did a little training here and there. But it wasn't really until we settled in Kentucky when I was about 14 years old that we actually started any formal training. And my father was working at a clinic as a doctor, and one of his patients recommended Three Rivers Martial Arts. And so we went and checked that out, and that's a Royce Gracie network, of course. Jason Hawkins, Eli Knight, and a lot of great guys there. So when I was 15, my brother, my sister, my father, and I all went and took an intro lesson together. And that was our first exposure to Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. And I actually hated it.
Really?
And I did. I was 15 years old, and I practiced the basic trap and roll escape, and I was practicing with my sister. And I just remember it being really awkward and kind of having some preconceived notions that a fight would go down like a Chuck Norris movie. And
sure.
So I didn't really feel like what I was learning was street ready. I wanted to be like Bruce Lee. So my dad convinced me to keep training for a couple more weeks, and I came back, and I kind of hated it a little less, and I finally started enjoying it, and then a few months in, it just really sunk in, and I just fell in love with it, and I've been training ever since.
Wow, that's really interesting how you didn't take to it right away, and then now it's been such a big part of your life. Back up for a moment, with all your travels through your younger years, that's really cool that you got to do that and got exposed to, different areas, different cultures and everything early on. I think that's very, very, very positive on anybody that gets a chance to do that. And that might explain one of the things that sticks out or that I recognize about you, Clay, is you seem mature. And for your young age, how old are you?
I just turned 22.
Yeah, for your young age, you seem to have just such a great outlook, level-headedness, a lot of real direction, and really focused on achieving your goals, and that's really, really cool and really refreshing to see that in someone as young as you. So I wonder if that travel had anything to do with that.
Well, thank you, Marty. I appreciate that, and I would absolutely agree. I would accredit a lot of that to my exposure at a young age and my ability to travel, as well as the gifted instructors and mentors that I had in my life. But definitely that exposure and travel at a young age is just overwhelmingly positive for a young person, and forms an impression that is going to guide them throughout the rest of their life.
Great. So going back to your initial exposure with Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, how long did it take before you actually started liking it or feeling more positive towards it?
Well, it was a few months in that I started enjoying it a little bit, but I was still really awkward. I was homeschooled my whole life, and so I had never really played any kind of sports or done any physical activities very much. So I really didn't have an athletic body. I remember practicing a judo throw called taiotoshi, and I was really awkward. I couldn't even stand in the stance to execute the throw without falling down. So it took me about a year before things started clicking, and when it clicked, that switch flipped pretty quickly, and I got pretty good pretty fast after that. But for the first year, I was actually a pretty slow learner.
Wow, it says a lot about you and your character for staying with it for the whole year when you weren't, absolutely enjoying it as fully as you would have liked. I mean, most people, especially in this day and age, if within a few weeks or months at the most, would be like, forget it, I'm out of here. So good for you for sticking with it, and that's great.
I'm sure glad I did.
So you've been training there for how long, Clay?
I've been training 7 years on August the 22nd. So just coming up on 7 years right now in this summer.
Okay. And you've also gone pretty far in judo, is that correct?
That's correct, yes. I have a brown belt in judo, so I've actually been doing judo almost as long as I've been doing jiu-jitsu. I started judo about 2 months in, and that was one of the best decisions I've ever made. Fortunately, I was at the school. One of my training partners, Dustin Lin, is a black belt in judo, and he and I have been training that for a long time together now, and that's been a very rewarding journey as well. That's definitely accentuated everything I've been able to do with jiu-jitsu, especially in competition.
Good. Let's talk about your competition. You compete more than anybody I know. Now, I'm sure there's others out there that compete just as much, but you're one of the only ones I follow that seem to compete almost every weekend. I mean, you're competing a lot, and have had a great deal of success in your competitions. So I'm going to ask you to brag on yourself just for a moment and tell us about some of the most notable competitions you've been in and placed, or either placed or won.
Sure. So there are a few that stand out. I was able to participate in an invitation-only event in Germany last year, and that was very cool. It was a submission-only, no time limit round robin, where there were 6 or 7 gentlemen from Europe and then myself, and we all fought each other with no time limits and no points, just
wow,
kumite, if you will. That was very memorable.
That's great.
And I've been able to do several events like that. Some AGF invitationals, the Gracie National and Gracie World Championships, of course, are really good events, and I've always enjoyed those a lot. To be honest, though, the same journey that I went through in my jiu-jitsu is kind of what I went through with my competition as well. I remember when I started, I was very strong-minded as a 16-year-old boy, and I would always tell everyone I'm in jiu-jitsu for self-defense, and I had no interest in ever competing. And then I got into school, and I was rolling around, and I realized I was enjoying that rolling time, and I kind of thought, hey, I'll just try a tournament just for kicks, and I actually competed twice as a blue belt and got absolutely demolished. I got both my arms hyperextended and lost all my matches, and just didn't go very well at all. But it was really fun for me. So right about when I got my purple belt, I guess I was just a glutton for punishment. When I got my purple belt, then I started competing a lot more. And my first competition as a purple belt, I didn't get tapped. All my matches I lost on points, but I didn't get tapped. And then the next tournament, I won my first match by submission. And after that, I won all my matches by submission, and it just kept snowballing from there. So it was kind of a slow transformation in the competition arena too.
Yeah.
But it was been a very rewarding journey.
Indeed, it has snowballed, because every time I turn around, you're saying, hey, I got gold in this, gold in the absolute, gold in gi, no gi. It's pretty impressive. And I know back in earlier this year, you were at the Gracie Nationals in LA and did really well there. Did you get gold in both there?
I did. I was able to take home the gold in the gi and the no gi at the Gracie Nationals. That was definitely a highlight of my competition career.
Well, you're certainly on fire. What are your aspirations as far as competition?
Well, I've got two main goals that are kind of cooking in my mind right now. I really try to go into jiu-jitsu with a submission-only mindset. I don't care if I lose on points or if I win on points. As a purple belt, I've won 95 matches, and I've won 92 of them by submission.
Wow, that's awesome.
So I've only won 3 matches on points, and one of them, the first one was against the UFC fighter Alex White, and I almost caught him but ran out of time, and I was just devastated. And since then, I've won a couple more on points, but almost every match by submission. So what I'm trying to do is just bring Gracie Jiu-Jitsu to the competition arena, and I know that in this day and age there's such a sportive mindset behind Jiu-Jitsu, where people train specifically for tournaments and they just abandon the Helio Gracie's mindset of Jiu-Jitsu as an art of self-defense in which rules and time limits are unacceptable. And I try to take that mindset and bring it back at the highest level. I want to, whenever I'm training, and even when I'm competing, I'm always thinking, what if this guy were to start elbowing me in the face right now? Am I putting myself in a position where I'm compromising that, or am I still being punch aware?
Wow.
Wow. That would be my first goal as far as competition, is just to take that Helio Gracie self-defense mindset and compete with that in mind.
Well, you certainly have been achieving that already, so that's
thank
great.
You. I'm definitely trying, and then the next step, as far as where I want to go with that, Metamoris is definitely where I'm looking. I've been able to participate in some great events. JW Wright and the Gracie Humaita St. Louis group has a great event called Respect, which is a professional invite-only jiu-jitsu match, and I was very blessed to participate in the first Respect card, and looking to the second Respect card now later this year. And I'm wanting to go towards Metamoris as well with that submission-only mindset. So whenever Halak is ready, I'd love to. I'm training hard for that one day.
Right on, and I have no doubt you'll make it there someday. What do you attribute your high level of success in competition, or what makes you so successful thus far, Clay?
Well, to be honest, there are a lot of factors. The amount of training I'm blessed to be able to teach and train full time. So just the amount of time I'm able to spend on the mat helps me in that arena as well. But at the end of the day, all the credit goes to my teacher and my training partners and just the amazing people that I have around me. If I didn't have those guys and girls supporting me, I wouldn't be able to do what I do at all.
Mm. Why don't we do a shout out just to a few of your training partners, and also your girlfriend trains as well, right?
Yes, yeah. Her name's Natalie. I actually met her in jiu-jitsu. I started teaching a ladies-only women's self-defense class, and Natalie was one of the first girls that came up and asked about the class and started taking it. So that's how I met her, and then a few months later we started dating, and then things just kind of went from there. So that was that's always a great story as well. But she's one of my training partners, and then got so many guys. I've got EJ Everett and Eli Knight, Dustin Lynn, Jason Hawkins, Drew Trevelyan, just a lot of great guys that help me drill and train every week. And, of course, my instructor, Jared Jessup. I just can't say enough positive things about Jared. He's definitely the driving force behind what I've done.
Well, it certainly sounds like you have a great support team and a great environment for you to grow and blossom through, and also take everybody else and help them grow along the way. So awesome. And also go back just for a moment to that. Another thing I appreciate about you as a martial artist and a jiu-jitsu practitioner is even though you are so successful in competition, you haven't, like you said, you haven't gone to that, quote, competition-only mentality. You've really kept the Helio Gracie principles, and you always have that self-defense mindset. And you also train at your academy for self-defense as well.
Yes. Competition is just a hobby for me. What I'm wanting to do, what I try to do and what I try to spread to my students is just living jiu-jitsu as a lifestyle. And that goes so far beyond what you do on the mat. Competition is just a hobby for me, and that's it.
Okay.
We have a bully-proof program at our school for the kids. We have women's self-defense, adult self-defense, and that's where it's at right there.
Great. Let's switch gears for a second. Well, staying with the competition, but you also this year dabbled in your first MMA match. Is that right?
Yes, I made my MMA debut back in September in Memphis, Tennessee. And that was quite an experience. That was probably one of the best experiences I've ever had. I was a little apprehensive about doing it. I competed a lot in jiu-jitsu. That was 26 months ago. I competed a lot and had never quite reached that frontier to MMA. And I never really considered myself an MMA fighter or even an MMA practitioner, just more of a jiu-jitsu fighter. And I finally took a fight. I just wanted to go out there and just show my students and show myself that what I've been doing and what I've been training for years actually worked. And I took the fight at a Royce Gracie tribute show. So I'd been with Royce for the last 4 days and taken him around teaching a bunch of seminars in the area at all of our networks here in their Illinois and Kentucky, Tennessee area. And the final night we went to the show, and it was a show in Royce's honor, so I got to fight on that card. And that was definitely one of the factors why I wanted to take the fight. And my opponent, I had about 6 or 7 guys back out of the fight after they found out how that I was a purple belt under Royce Gracie. And I finally found a guy 3 days before the fight. I found an opponent. And
wow.
He was about 25 or 30 pounds heavier, and I knew nothing about his background. I didn't know if he'd been training his garage or if he'd been training for 10 years, and I just couldn't find anything on him. But I had no idea who he was, and got in the ring, and Royce, Jared was in my corner, and Royce was standing right next to the ring. And when we started, I just did what we trained. Jared and Royce and I had trained the Pizao, the front kick to the clinch, and takedown, and then jiu-jitsu. And Royce and Jared and I have just been training that sequence over and over and over and over again. And that's exactly what I did. And I got him up against the cage, and I remember hearing Royce. Royce was standing about 3 feet away from me, and heard him telling me exactly what to do. You can even hear him on the video. And caught the takedown and caught a Ronda Rousey armbar. And it was about 38 seconds into the first round.
Awesome. What an amazing experience to go in there at a Royce Gracie tribute event and having Royce right there, having had him, work with you and prep you for the event, and then having him right there, and you could hear his instructions and coaching you. That's got to be a major peak experience.
It was. It's just an amazing honor to have the man that the reason that we're training today and being able to fight in front of him and even fight with him there and coaching me, that was definitely an honor.
That's awesome. And I'm really glad you got to do that. That certainly is something that not too many of us in this world will have a chance to do exactly like those conditions. So that's really great. Tell me about when you were training for the MMA fight. How different or how similar was it when you're gearing up for a jiu-jitsu competition?
Well, there was an apprehension just because it was something that I'd never done before, but the training was very similar to what we'd always trained. Like we were discussing earlier, Marty, the mindset of Royce Gracie Jiu-Jitsu is distance management and punch awareness and that style of self-defense jiu-jitsu rather than worrying about scoring points and getting grips, illegal grips and legal grips and all this and that, and time limits. That mindset of self-defense jiu-jitsu is exactly what we trained for the MMA side, so it really wasn't very different from how I normally train.
Gotcha. And it sounds very reminiscent of Royce's earlier fights. Instead of like in modern MMA where you're kind of standing there in kickboxing range, kind of going back and forth, you managed the distance, stayed out, and then when it's time to go in, boom, clinched and took him down and went from there.
Absolutely, and that was exactly what we had hoped to accomplish.
Awesome. All right, so I know you also teach kids as well as adults. Do you have a story that stands out about a memorable student that you've had? Anything come to mind?
Oh man, teaching kids is definitely a highlight for me. There are a couple students that stand out in my mind. There was one young man that I trained with for a couple of years now, and when he first came up to the school, he was about 7 years old or 8 years old, and he just came from a difficult situation. His father had lost a leg in Afghanistan, and he was from a broken home, and he had depression, and he was being bullied in school. He had ADHD, just a really troubled situation and troubled young man. And when he signed up for jiu-jitsu classes, it was difficult to get him to do the techniques or he was doing private lessons with me. And it was just a challenge every class to harness in his attention and to practice with him. And it became a journey of exploration for me as an instructor to be creative and learn how to draw the lesson out of the student instead of presenting the lesson to him. And it was definitely a growing experience for both of us. And that transformation was very interesting to watch. Now, looking back a couple of years later, he's a completely different kid. He stands up tall. He faces his day with confidence, and his focus and attention have shot through the roof. And that's just a very, for me, a very touching and very meaningful experience to see that quality of transformation that jiu-jitsu has.
Yes. It's a beautiful thing to see a transformation like that, and to know that you've played a role in that transformation.
And that,
sure.
that
And it's also
story, cool. That kind of story means more to me than any medal that he could win. Rather than go into a competition and just smoking everyone else there, just having the confidence to stand up and stand up to a bully or to try something new, or to come home or to come to the lesson and tell me that he tried a new vegetable or something like that. Those kind of real life transformative stories are what feed me as an instructor, and what I look for rather than catering to an athletic student. And we all have students of all kinds, and I definitely enjoy working with these young men. I've got another student named Noah Holler, and he's just a joy to watch as well. Noah has been training with me for about a year, and he's 13 years old, and he's just found something that he loves to do. He trains 6 days a week. He trains harder than most adults that I know, and holds his own when he's rolling with people twice his size. Just a great guy. He goes and meets with me and just submits everyone in his divisions. So you've got both kinds of students there. You've got one that's not athletic and is not going to be a performing athlete. You've got one that is, and jiu-jitsu has something to offer both of them.
Indeed it does, and that's what it's all about, is helping shape those individuals and have an effect on the quality of their lives as well as the direction of their lives. It's a mark of a good instructor or a great instructor to be able to meet people where they are and kind of work with the clay that you're given, so to speak, and honor that person where they are and not try to make them be something that you think they should, but the best them that they can be.
And that has been one of possibly the most rewarding journey of all in jiu-jitsu has been learning how to be an instructor. There's, Marty, you and I have talked about this before. There's such a huge difference between a world champion that can submit everyone on the mat but has no idea how to show them how to do it, and a blue belt that may not be the baddest dude in the school, but he can teach like no one's business. And at IQ Jiu-Jitsu, where I train under Jared Jessup, we have a 1,500-hour instructor certification program. It's an exhaustive program that teaches someone how to teach. There's such an art to instruction, and
so true.
As I went through that, it just enriched not only my ability to teach, but also my own jiu-jitsu journey. If you can teach a 5-year-old girl how to do an armbar, you've got to understand it on the simplest level, and that's going to accentuate your own practice.
That's right.
Going through that training program was one of the best things that I've been able to do, not just for jiu-jitsu, but for life in general.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So, Clay, what would you say is the most important lesson you've learned in jiu-jitsu?
Wow, that's not an easy question to answer. There have been so many. One of the single most important would be the ability to adapt to an ever-changing situation, because that's what jiu-jitsu is, and in a grander scheme, that's what life is as well. The moment you cease to adapt, you crystallize and cease to adapt to the situation, you start to die. So that would be a big one, but really I can't think of a single area of my life that has not been positively affected by my time on the mat. From the way I breathe, my posture, all the way to finances and problem solving and relationships, every part of my being has been positively affected, definitely. The name of our school, IQ Jiu-Jitsu, stands for Inward Quest, and that's on a deep level. That's what the art is about. It's a vehicle of self-development.
And I like how you put that. I remember when I saw you out in L.A., you had a shirt, IQ Inward Quest shirt, and you were telling me a little bit about that, the meaning of it then. And I always find it fascinating to not only hear about people's jiu-jitsu journey, but anytime they have a logo or a symbol or just the name of their school, I like to hear the story behind that and the meaning. There's usually a deeper, very cool meaning behind it, as in this case as well.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about your time off the mat, Clay, if there is much time off the mat. Do you have any other hobbies? I get the impression that if you have any time, you want to be on the mat. So do you have any other hobbies you do, or is it all 100% jiu-jitsu?
Well, does judo count?
Works for me, brother.
You're right. I don't have a lot of time off the mat. Usually, if I'm not training, I'm working on a seminar flyer or curriculum, or I'm going to compete or something like that. But when I'm not doing any of those things, you're right. I enjoy chilling out and spending time with Natalie. One of my favorite hobbies, though, is just cooking. I love to cook. I've gotten into the Gracie diet quite a bit, just healthy eating and juicing. And I love experimenting with new foods and cooking. So that's definitely one of my favorite pastimes. Gordon Ramsay is on my list of people to meet.
All right. What do you think about Anthony Bourdain? And that's his name, who is into jiu-jitsu now.
Yeah, that's been interesting to watch too. I enjoy watching his travel and cooking show as well. That's I'd have to mention that as well. Traveling is aside from jiu-jitsu, traveling is my next favorite thing to do. I love going anywhere that I can and just meeting different people and experiencing different exposures of life. And it's a blessing that jiu-jitsu allows me to do that. A lot of times when I'm traveling somewhere, I'll just schedule a seminar or schedule some private lessons and help cover the expenses of the trip, and just meet up with different jiu-jitsu family and get to experience the journey as well. Great.
It's great when you combine two of your biggest passions together like that. So, Clay, who's had the greatest influence or impact on your life, both in jiu-jitsu as well as non-jiu-jitsu related?
Wow. Without a doubt, that would be Jared Jessup. Jared owns IQ Jiu-Jitsu, which is where I train and teach at. And Jared is one of Royce's black belts, and he's not just my instructor; he's my best friend and my training partner as well. And on and off the mat, he's definitely had the most influence on me. He's completely changed my life. And my jiu-jitsu journey. Training with Jared is the best thing that I've ever done for jiu-jitsu. His approach to jiu-jitsu is just unparalleled. If I could train with anyone every day, it would be Jared, bar none. And that's having traveled and trained with some of the best in the world.
Yeah, that says a lot for sure.
It does. Not only his ability, his to say cashew or whatever, his prowess on the mat, but his understanding of what's going on and his ability to convey what's happening. He's one of the most masterful instructors that I've ever met, and his knowledge of the intricacies of the art are just unparalleled. He's definitely a human being of a rare caliber.
Well, he certainly sounds like an ultra exceptional human being for sure. So I'm glad you've had that opportunity to grow under him.
I am as well. I look forward to many years.
So is there anyone that you haven't had a chance to train with that you would like to, Clay, or anybody that's just kind of on a fantasy level that maybe even isn't with us anymore, who's passed on, but if you could train with, who stands out?
Sure. I've got a long list of people that I'd like to train with. Hicks and Gracie is on my list, all of Royce's brothers. But the one man that stands out is Elio. I actually never got to meet Elio. I started training while he was still alive, but he passed away about 6 months after my first class, so I never got to meet the Grandmaster. So if I could train with anyone, it would definitely be Elio Gracie.
That's a great one for sure. So is there anything that comes to mind that people would be surprised to hear about you or learn about you?
Let's see. Well, a lot of people are surprised to learn that I'm a vegetarian.
Okay.
I eat salmon from time to time, but I don't eat chicken or beef or venison or anything like that. I'm a vegetarian. I follow the Gracie diet loosely. I don't follow it strictly to a T, but I'm aware of it and I follow it most of the time. And just try to eat all organic, non-GMO, raw foods. I do a lot of juicing. Have a Vitamix, and I love that. So just a healthy plant-based lifestyle. A lot of people are surprised to learn that I don't eat meat. Hopefully, we're moving beyond society's misunderstanding that you have to eat meat to ingest protein. But a lot of people are still a little taken back to find that out.
I like how you said you loosely follow. I think so many people get caught up and they either have to follow it, rigidly or 100% or not at all, instead of you can do it, but kind of your own spin if you want or need to as well.
Absolutely. Whatever's going to help you extract a better quality of life. If you would be better following it, following a healthy lifestyle halfway than all or nothing, then that's what you need to do. Whatever helps you qualitatively improve your life. Yes.
And then you create momentum anyway. If you do what you can, or at
Absolutely.
First, it breeds more motivation and more, and then you keep going and getting better and better.
Sometimes less is more, as long as you're taking steps in the right direction.
Absolutely. Well said. All right. Do you have a favorite quote or motto that inspires you, Clay? And what do you want your life to be like 10 years from now?
10 years from now. Wow.
Yes.
Well, let's go with the quote first. There's an old samurai maxim. He who has mastered an art reveals it in his every action.
That's a great one.
I read that and that really stuck with me.
That's really good.
He who has mastered an art reveals it in his every action.
Love it.
As far as where I want to be 10 years from now, there are a lot of areas in life that I want to progress in. Well, all of them. From a professional standpoint, my short-term goal is to win the Gracie World Championships, and within 10 years, I'm just interested to see where competition has gone. I'd like to be fighting in Metamoris. I'd like to be still competing on the highest level, and I'd also like to have opened my own school within that time span. And we'll see where jiu-jitsu takes us from there.
Awesome. Well, before we close here, is there anything else you'd like to share with us today about jiu-jitsu, about life, or about anything at all? I just want to express my thanks to everyone along the way that has helped me get here. It's easy to see the man on the outside, but you miss all the people behind him, whose shoulders he's standing on to get there. I owe so much thanks to the Gracie family, to Royce Gracie and Henner and Hiron Gracie, and all my friends and instructors there, and then to Jared Jessup more than anyone, to all my other teachers, Jason Hawkins and Eli Knight, Derek Perry, and all my friends and training partners. I couldn't do any of this without every single one of them. Well said, man. And again, going back to just the admiration I have for you. You've achieved so much at a young age, but you're also very humble and down to earth and very approachable. And you're also give credit to where credit's due, those that have helped you become where you are on your journey right now. So that's really great. Hats off to you, brother. Well, thank you, Marty.
I'm excited to see where we'll be together in another 5 or 10 years.
Sounds great, man. Well, I really appreciate your time. Very insightful, and thanks for letting us get to know you better. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Marty.
Okay, really enjoyed doing that interview with Clay, and I know we'll continue to see him doing great things in the jiu-jitsu world. Stay tuned for the Make a Difference, Make an Impact segment. Okay, time for the Make a Difference, Make an Impact segment. We'll start with a quote. Real freedom is the ability to pause between stimulus and response, and in that pause, choose. Rollo May. Okay, today's theme, ask yourself the question, will this matter a year from now? Almost every day I play a game with myself, and the game is called Time Warp. To play Time Warp, all you have to do is imagine that whatever circumstance you're dealing with isn't happening now, but a year from now. Then simply ask yourself, is this situation really as important as I'm making it out to be? Once in a great while it may be, but a vast majority of the time it simply isn't. Whether it be an argument with your spouse, child, or boss, a mistake, a lost opportunity, a lost wallet, a work-related rejection, or a sprained ankle, chances are, a year from now, you aren't going to care. It will be one more irrelevant detail in your life. While the simple game won't solve all your problems, it can give you an enormous amount of needed perspective. I find myself laughing at things that I used to take far too seriously. Now, rather than using up my energy feeling angry and overwhelmed, I can use it instead on spending time with my wife and children, engaging in creative thinking, or any other positive endeavors I'd like to do. So give this some thought, and I encourage you as you go through your day, week, and month to play this game with yourself, Time Warp. Ask yourself the question, will this matter a year from now? And that's going to do it for this episode of the show. As always, I appreciate you listening. I hope you're enjoying it. If you are enjoying it, please take a moment to let us know. You can leave feedback on the website at www.graciejujitsurocks.com. You can also like us on Facebook and Twitter. And also head over to iTunes and rate the show. And you can leave a comment there as well. Help spread the word about the show by telling your friends and also reposting some of our Facebook posts on your wall as well. Again, thanks for listening. Until next time, this is Marty Josie, and I'll see you on the mat.